Her background is nerd.
Darren should have gone to school here instead of Cutter, because you are a devil. I can tell you that right now.
She rolls in like she's a Hollywood movie star now. She just she's just here for the camera.
I guess I tooted.
No hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah,
Shall we talk about my one-sentence resignation?
Well, welcome back to Spilling the Tea in Studio D, the road show edition.
Co-op tour.
Yeah, co-op tour continues.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're
We
in
need a song.
beautiful Plummerville, Arkansas, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so, Archford, I mean, you guys serve a pretty good area. You know, a lot of people always ask, where's Archford located? And I always say, well, kind of like Conway, sort of, but not really. Yeah.
Yeah,
Close
we serve schools from Valonia
Right.
all the way to western Yale County.
Wow.
And up to
and
Shirley and
Up to Shirley, all the way down to Perryville, Bigelow.
Wow.
So we have a tremendous, large area
Yeah.
with 26 schools, 2 if you count North Little Rock and Academics Plus. That's 28 schools in our.
So do
in
y'all
our
get
region.
the enhanced transportation funding?
We
since
do.
It's such a large.
We do. We get enhanced transportation for.
And by that,
far
it's
as we travel.
it's a extra cup of coffee if you need it, right?
That's right. That's right.
pretty much.
Mark Taylor Julie Workman, by the way. Mark is the director, which that still baffles me. You know, I used to say
I'm the director and I got a job. Yeah, me too.
because hey, I'm glad to see you take that off my shoulders. Because people, what are you doing now? And I tell them, they're like, "You're doing what?" You know, kind of thing. So, but anyway, to get things going, we like to start in just get to know you folks a little bit. So tell us about your journey. You know, first of all, what pulled you into education and your journey to where you're sitting right now?
Well, you know, for me, when I was real little, I used to think, man, I want to be an educational co-op director someday.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I started out in coaching and coaching and teaching, and absolutely loved it.
Right.
Had a tremendous impact, I think, on students.
Sure.
And as I grew into that role, you know, especially in the head coaching role, I saw what a tremendous opportunity principals could have. And so moved into the principalship and then on up into the superintendent world. And so that was kind of my journey, and really enjoyed the coaching part. Miss a lot of times that, you know, that camaraderie you had in the office and with those kids, but I try to never let that go. I tried as a principal, I tried to keep that same student interaction going, and I thought that we built a really solid culture, you know, around that. And then as a superintendent, same thing, but now as a superintendent, you are a little bit more removed. But, you know, and then as a superintendent, I think after 8 years, I was the 4th or 5th longest tenured superintendent in the Archford region after all the retirements and, you know, people leaving. And so when this job, you know, came open, I had applied for it and you know, was given the opportunity. And I'll tell you, even when you interview as a co-op director, you don't really know the scope of the job.
Absolutely.
You know, there's
Yeah.
just
So
really
true.
no way to know
Yeah.
the
You don't-
scope of the
yeah.
job. Thank goodness Julie had been here
Right.
and kind of helped me settle into that.
As
and
you're
so,
asking a million
yeah,
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like you're saying, even as being a board member, you know, I knew what all the co-op did until I got there, right?
Absolutely. And there's just differences, you know, in how co-ops operate and how school districts operate. And you're right, as a board member, you sit out there, but think about to our superintendent days, you know, all the days that we would go through and we would just be putting out fires right and left. The co-op most of the time was outside, out of mind, and, you know, until we needed certain resources, you know. And so,
they were, you know, like you're saying, putting out fires. They were one of the extinguishers.
That's right.
You know,
that's
you
right.
went to if you needed them. Right?
Absolutely. We you know, we would always use the co-op as our first call.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so, But yeah, so that's kind of been my journey. You know, from.
You did a little work at the collegiate level too, didn't you? Or was you GA?
I did. I actually started in coaching at Arkansas Tech. I started as a graduate assistant and worked my way up there. Then I went to University of Arkansas at Monticello, UAM, for a couple years. offense coordinator there in 2002 and 3, then came back to Arkansas Tech, and then got into high school.
Gotcha.
When my brother kept calling me wanting to go fishing and play golf and everything, I was like, I'm working 350 days a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought I went into high school.
You're like, need a little downtime.
Yes, need a little downtime.
Yeah. Well, Julie, what about you?
Well, pretty similar. I mean, I started in
You
teaching.
coached at Tech,
I
too?
did not coach at Tech.
I didn't know that.
No coaching, as you can tell by my cornhole game. I'm a Texas girl, so I actually started out in Texas teaching.
Gotcha.
Did that for 9 years before moving to Arkansas, and then moved to Monticello. So we have that connection. And was a literacy coach in Monticello for 6 years before moving into administration, and was assistant principal and then principal there. And then 7 years ago came to Archford.
Right.
And I've had several roles here. I started as the novice teacher person with the mentoring program, and then moved into the leadership support, and then now teacher center coordinator. So I'm starting my 4th year as that.
So do you feel like those other jobs you had in the co-op helped prepare you?
I did, for sure. Kind of like what Dr. Taylor was saying. I mean, I knew what the co-op was, and actually when I was in Monticello, it was across the street from my school. And so, of course, we went to the co-op, and we did professional development and those things. But you really don't understand that role until you get in it. And then I began to understand how we support the department and how we support those initiatives and how we work with them and to support our districts and our schools. So everything kind of leading up to this really prepared me. As a literacy coach, I'm a literacy girl, so I'm science of reading, and that has really paid dividends here because we do a lot of support with that.
Well,
so
I mean, I wasn't that kind to Candace. I just dropped her into the hot end of the fire and said, come on. But
luckily, I had Beth to answer a zillion questions, and the other TCCs too.
And that's why I started saying. But she's a math person, right? She's organized, just like I am, right? Wouldn't you say? Probably a little less organized than I am.
Lightning's going to strike right now.
Well, whenever I was a superintendent, I was actually on the committee that hired Dr. Workman.
Oh, wow.
And so, little did I know back then that I would be, working with her. And so, but that was, Mr. Young had put a committee together, and we went in and did some interviews, and so.
Well, and the only thing I can say about Candace, I'm the only guy alive foolish enough to hire her twice. So
smart.
Yeah.
We've the smartest decision he's ever made.
We actually worked together in the district there at Lakeside, there in Hot Springs. Our paths kind of separated, and then came back together at Fountain Lake, and then she and I left Fountain Lake at the same time. So. And then when I came a calling again, she was like, "Oh, my daughter's going to be a senior," and I said, "Well, that was the exact time that I left, and it was so great to be dad that senior year versus being."
It was really awesome. Just got to be a mom.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be the principal. And it was great.
Although we did have a girl go down at a softball game, and this was like my first year at the co-op, and still had parents running up to me, "Mr. Beckwith, way to get go down."
Right.
Right. Okay. See what, if we can't help you out there. So I mean, transition-wise, what was maybe one of the tougher things going from, like you said, the superintendency, where it's just like, public school, period. Everything's, coming at you. And you get here. And the coolest thing to me is really about being a big part of the solution for schools. Whereas in the mindset of being in the throes of an everyday school day, solutions come, but a lot of times you're dealing with so much at one time, So how do you transition there?
Well, for me, it was, kind of understanding the finance side of it.
Yeah.
It's not more difficult. In fact, it's quite a bit less difficult.
Right.
Just understanding where those funding sources and where they come from. And then, how to do more with less.
Right.
I was used to that in small school.
Oh, yeah.
But, I think the hardest thing was, for me, was like, how does our co-op, how do we move forward with LEARNs?
Right.
Okay. Have we sat down and looked at what our roles as cooperatives and how they change now according to the LEARNs Act?
Right.
And so I think that was what we started doing, is like, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well?
Absolutely.
And how can we, build on our support to our schools? Because, when I met with all the Archford employees, the first thing I said was, look, we're never going to forget the one word in our title, and that's service.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so I felt like that was, that's kind of been one of my things. We are going to serve our schools. If you don't have that mentality, you can't work for us.
That's right.
And so, making that transition and then setting our team down, Dr. Workman and I got a chance to kind of, those first couple months here's another thing that's different. Summertime is absolutely insanely busy.
Sure.
You have, between 200 and 300 teachers on this campus every day, all through the summer.
Right.
So getting time with her and our team was extremely difficult for those first 3 months. And then once school starts, everything kind of settles down for a little bit, and you can kind of, calibrate a little bit. And we did. We got a chance to sit down and started thinking about what is our mission, what's our purpose, and how are we going to serve those schools. Yeah. And so that was I would say it was hard. It was fun and challenging, but it was also difficult because you're serving 26 school districts.
Right.
Are their visions aligned with yours?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the tough part, I think, trying to hit everybody's needs and squeezing the most out of what we do.
Well, and the range and sizes.
Oh, yes.
We have teeny tiny districts with 200 to 300 kids, and then, we've got 10,000 kids. And so it's and everything in between.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Well, and that's exactly kind of where we're at. And like you say, sometimes the larger districts may or may not have a certain need, but they still have needs. And sometimes, and to me, it kind of ebbs and flows. Like some years they need us a little more than others at the larger end of it. But whatever the case, is just being prepared. And I know too, as a TCC, everybody says, it kind of slows down, but really and truly, once summer's down, I mean, we're looking forward to next year, and getting those trainings lined up.
Well, and Julie's job, I think, is really, it's difficult. How many principals do we have in our region?
Total? Well, we've
principals and APs.
We've got 115 schools, so you add that, probably 300 plus.
Yeah. And
so
add in the APs. She gets a lot of questions from those, those principals. I just get the calls from the superintendents.
Same here. Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions.
Sure. Oh yeah.
That we get on a daily basis, and we of course we're glad to help, but at the same time, there's some days I know she spends all day answering emails.
And the level of questions I know that come into them,
Absolutely.
And the thing that's interesting, I mean, lots of new things have come out, but we talk about this a lot of times. But when you get to the baseline needs or questions, it's those that have been in education forever, and as we talk about a lot, if they can get to that point and manage that relationship piece, whether it's with teachers, non-certified staff, kids, or whatever, I think all these other things tend to roll in and get in line a little easier for them. But in this day and age, like I said, we feel like, hey, we've got a handle on something, and bang, something else comes out.
Yeah, we talk about that's one of my favorite parts about the co-op is service. I get to get up every day and make people happy for the most part,
support them.
I mean, just be there and support. So
and do some of the things that they don't have time to do.
Right.
Exactly.
Have y'all experienced that from Candace at all over there?
Whatever.
Making y'all happy?
They lie.
Okay.
They lie. He lies, lightning again.
Yeah.
But that's. I mean, we joke about it a lot, but we're serious. It's like Chick-fil-A, Burger King. Like,
yes.
If you go to somewhere, and you don't feel welcome, and you don't feel, wanted, then why are they going to call you?
Right.
I mean.
Yeah. And like I say, some of these ancillary things we try to take care of on the front end, so they can get in there and teach. They can get in there and do their walkthrough, the things that they need to be doing. And one of the things we've taken over, the principal mentoring and superintendent mentoring. The thing that I've enjoyed about it thus far is being able to push into the schools a little
Absolutely.
bit more.
That has been one of the best things that we've been able to do is if you look at co-ops, we will struggle to reach in and touch every classroom.
That's right.
Okay, we don't have the capacity.
Right.
We don't, but we can build the capacity in the ones who do, and that's those building principals and assistant principals. So one of the things that we have really pushed in is getting our principals the training that they need, that they can go in and change those classrooms and support teachers. And so that's been a focus of ours, a really strong focus that we have We did a Principal Institute this summer that was just phenomenal. We saw so much. We've seen so much growth in our principals that that we were working with, and to watch those principals go out and deliver solid PD in their districts.
Right. Yeah.
It's been very rewarding.
Well, and you guys have kind of been ahead of the curve a little bit in that y'all have had that team together that has gone in and visited with schools basically from stem to stern.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's great work that you're doing, something that everybody's going to try to duplicate on some level. But I think it's important for us to be seen as part of that growth or whatever the case might be that they need. I feel like with co-op people, they see us as a trusted, true professional friend.
We've built those relationships
right.
already,
Right.
and it has to be a systematic approach from top down.
Yeah.
And we are seeing our superintendents really take the lead in leading that instructional change in our
Yes.
districts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when it comes from top down, it is much easier to accomplish that.
Yeah, we've talked about that on another podcast with somebody I can't. But the evolution of, let's just say, the building principal, going from a butt whooper,
Yes.
basically,
Yes.
to being the instructional leader.
Absolutely.
And
and a butt whooper.
if you don't have a good AP, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
if you don't have an AP.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Which I did
Right.
not.
Think about it.
Yeah.
For years, superintendents, we would hire a very popular person in the district, somebody
Right.
that worked hard, had the community trust.
Yeah.
Lots of times they were coaches. Lots
Right.
of time they were in different roles. But you put them into the principalship.
Right.
They're not instructional leaders.
No, they're not.
Okay,
Right.
so that is our job. We
Right.
have to teach and build that instructional leadership so
Right.
they can lead those buildings.
Well, and I think too, more and more superintendents are telling me. I mean, that's when they go looking for principals and assistant principals. I mean, how that paradigm is shift as well is if they're not an instructional leader, they're going to go be bumped down a little bit further. I mean, because you can communicate or be a good communicator all day long, but if you don't have the meat, so to speak, to lead that group, it's getting more and more
Right.
difficult.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a big part of it too that we've really learned through this work is that we have to equip our principals to build those systems.
Right.
They're
yeah.
not equipped to know how to do that, and so building instructional and behavioral systems, I
Yeah.
think, is a big focus for ours.
Yeah, and again, it's through experience, but I think one of the things we talk to them a lot of times, I mean, they are truly drinking from that quote-unquote fire hose, but, it's okay at times, in the heat of the day to say, look, I don't know, but I'll find out, or shoot me an email, because, they come at you, as we walk down the hall still, we kind of laugh about that. That's one thing that has not changed. Everybody's got a need right now, and, so how
I
do you
used to
spell it
butt
down?
whoop a minute ago, and I don't even know if I've told you this before. Funny principal story. So many schools, have done away with corporal punishment. So first, as principal at a school, small school, and they had corporal punishment, and parent requested their kid to be paddled, and I'm like freaking out because I'm like, now judge me if you want, whatever. I paddled my own child. And didn't beat my child, but
Kept her
paddled
in
my own-
line, yeah.
Kept her in line. She needed it. She knows, Anyway, so I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. And so the high school principal's like, come up here and you can practice. So
Oh,
he's
gosh.
like, so we get the paddle because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to paddle this kid. And so here I'm like hitting the chair, and he's like, no, a little bit harder. And I'm like, I don't want to bruise this kid. Like, it was
Yeah.
just crazy.
Right,
and so
right.
then girl walks in with leggings on.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Because you want it to like hurt enough where it's like, okay, here,
Learn
whatever.
your lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not paddling anymore,
Yeah,
kids.
no.
I'm like, if you want to paddle your kid, come get it.
Well,
come
and
get
that-
the kid. I'm
that-
like,
That's kind of the second part of what we're trying to do is build those multi-system
Yeah.
systems of support for our principals where that necessarily is
Yeah.
not an option.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
want to build those
We're
systems where
taking it
those
from a restorative standpoint
Right.
and really
Yes.
supporting
Well,
them.
exactly.
And
But I'm like,
I'm telling you, it's almost
Yeah.
like seeing somebody smoking a cigarette today versus vaping. I didn't think many schools still did it, but
Mm-hmm.
there are a few out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
There
But,
are some.
yeah.
oh, yeah.
In this day and age, you're right. Let's do the restorative thing.
Right.
Well, I
Right.
mean, this is the age that we live in, with lawsuits and everything else. And I'm
Right.
thinking, good grief.
Well, and also
But-
we have so many kids who have high ACE scores and the trauma related that it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's It's just a different world.
But this was a parent request.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
you can.
I've had those before, and I
take 'em
just said,
outside.
you do it.
Yeah, that's what
Me
the next
too.
time I did. I was like, you go right ahead. This is
Yeah.
what we're going to do in our handbook.
I can remember one time I had a parent come in, and it was over a kid forgetting he'd lost his pencils again for about the 5th time. She didn't even break a sweat. She just took the strap off of her purse. She said, "Do you have an office?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going outside." And when it came out, guess what? He didn't finish. He didn't forget his pencils anymore. So, but yeah, but we're talking about that a little bit on, on the way up, and I know academics is front and foremost in everybody's mind, but the other part that we have to make sure that we're hitting is that social and emotional, and y'all know this. The gap's gotten wider and wider. The haves and the have-nots, those kinds of things. And I told her, as I think about some of the test scores and I look at some of the districts, I mean, I can totally get a kid that hadn't had food since lunch before, the day before, and we're trying to get them prepared for this test. There's so much that goes into educating kids today. And, again, that's why I'm glad to be part of a co-op. I think it offers us an opportunity. Let's just say School District A does not have a program in place. Maybe we can go out and at least connect them at the bare minimum with the surrounding district that may have something for them to go look at, and being a part of that solution has been pretty rewarding, I think. So.
Yeah, we were discussing. I mean, it is a lot on the schools because they are being asked to be more of the parent and learn things, but at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. Like, you're in education for the heart and to help kids.
Yeah.
So you do what you got to do.
Yeah. And that's why, like I say, the good part for us is being able to walk in and they may say, hey, I'm struggling with this. And we're able to go out, like I said, maybe, start fast tracking them toward what's going to help them out. So,
Yeah.
So, largest district for y'all is what, Conway?
Yes.
And smallest would be
Shirley, Guy Perkins, or Western Yale. They're all kind of
All
right
right in
around
there together.
200-ish.
Yeah. So co-op wise, I know I feel like everybody kind of has their niche. What would you think that if y'all had to push something out first and foremost? Again, I know, and honestly, I mean this. Y'all do a lot of great things here, but if you had to say this is where we feel like maybe one of our stronger areas, what might that be?
Well, I think definitely what we've been talking about with the systematic support, the Arch Forward Learning Partnership, which we call AFLIP, which is something that we've really wanted to do for a long time because with content specialists, we've had those for many years.
Yes.
But kind of their role has been to go and work with a teacher.
Right.
And then if that teacher's not in a system that's going to support that work, that is really hard for that teacher to sustain those practices. So with this, we are doing systematic from superintendent all the way down, starting with building audits to where we go in and we visit every single classroom and we collect just real quick 5-minute data. And that helps to give us a picture that we turn around and then can give to the superintendent and the leadership team. And then we can come alongside them and support and say, so what are the leverage points that you see? And that has really been good because we have 17 of our districts that are in this partnership. So it's giving us a really good view of what instruction is looking like in our classrooms and what those leverage points are. And then that's how we built the Principal Institute to start to support those leaders.
Right.
An example of that is, we also survey teachers as part of this audit. And, of course, it's anonymous and they get to give us the feedback. And one of the things that they told us is they're not getting enough feedback from administrators. So what that allowed us to do was to go out and find a tool that we could put in the hands of our administrators. And so now we've got a tool that we've purchased for them, and we've trained them on it. That was part of the Institute. And so they have it right there. And it takes away so many times, as, a principal myself in the past, it's hard to go in and do a walkthrough. And then you're like, I got to write it all down, and where do I put it? And I don't have time to go back to my office and do this. And so putting that tool in their hands, it really takes away a lot of that for them. So we see our role as really trying to fill in those needs that we see, using our data to do that, and then turning around and helping those principals disaggregate that data.
And you know what I've found, too, through the years in the co-op, this is year number 10, actually, for me, but it is seeing the districts really being less and less apprehensive about asking for help in some of these areas.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you guys go in with open eyes and, and willingness to share.
Yeah. Well, and I think it really comes from our PLC work that we've been doing for the last 7 years, really.
Right.
But, for probably the last 2 to 3 years, we've had a dedicated PLC team, and that's when we started with our superintendents. Analyzing data every month and looking at that. And so it was a process where it was a little bit uncomfortable at first. And then we got to the point where they said, don't blind my data. I want to see what everybody else is doing.
That's right.
And so it's all kind of been these incremental steps that have led us here. But
And
the other thing I think too is fueling brains. If you want to talk about that.
Well, yeah, and it's those, and building on what Julie said, the relationships that we've built with our school districts, that trust where you're coming in as a, to help and not judge, and not a judgment. That's been something I think Arch Ford has done a tremendous job over the years, going back to, Mr. Young and then Mr. Grant. And so I think those relationships are strong. Yeah. And the other piece that we have been working with our districts is Fueling Brains, which is a strategic brain development for early childhood. And what we're seeing is that executive functioning and children that they're not getting that executive functioning, like they used to get. So this program really builds on that, on those for 3 and 4 year olds, builds in that on that executive functioning for kids, because kids are not ready to learn unless they can self-regulate.
That's right.
So some of the things that we're doing with Fueling Brains and watching these early childhood classrooms develop is really amazing.
Right.
Watching 3 and 4 year olds go from, chaotic in a classroom to serving lunch and sitting down and having community lunch with each other has really been eye-opening for us. And so if we can continue to push this out into our districts and across our region and across the state, then those kindergarten teachers are getting a different kid.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's, and I think that's one of the things that the governor's really, really been very vocal about is the early childhood piece.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And so let's pick it up and run with
Well,
it.
and that's the cool thing about co-ops, and I had forgot that. I do want to bring some of our team down and go through that, because I think what you're saying is so true. Some of the things I think a lot of times we take for granted, that kids are going to come knowing how to get in a line, knowing how to behave.
Right.
It's just not happening.
No,
And
it's
so
just a different world.
we talked about that coming up here. People can say all they want, that that's not the school's job or it's not our job, but it is.
It
Right.
is.
If a kid's lacking in anything, but from the time we have them till the time they go home, we got to do our best to get them in the best shape.
You want
I
them to
think.
be successful, you got
That's
to
right.
do what you got to do.
That's right.
And it goes back to the anxiety, or the the book, The Anxious Generation, where those kids they're at an early age are being put on those devices, and it is not it's not good for their brain development and everything else. So we look, I've been guilty as myself as a parent, to use it as a babysitter at times.
Absolutely.
But I think this is that piece that we might be missing, and so we're anxious to see where this goes and how it continues to develop, and we're anxious to push it out.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the, no cell bell to bell thing, I've seen probably more positive comments than not. Just the fact that kids are engaged.
Yeah.
And at the end, if they have time at the end, instead of saying, hey, get your phones out, they're having discussions. And so again, I've been in it for sure long enough to remember what life was like without a cell phone, then what it was like with a cell phone, and now, going back to.
Well, back when everybody started getting cell phones, even kids, at first I didn't think it was going to be a good idea. Then I'm reading people saying, hey, why are you, not embracing this technology? Why are you not embracing this change? So then I kind of jumped across and said, okay, well, we're going to allow them in schools. And then the teachers came back and said, this is terrible. So we were being pulled back and forth. So, but I think, research clearly shows that it's not a good idea for them to have those.
And I can remember somewhere along the way somebody making the argument, well, why do we need to teach the periodic table if they can just go on their phone and pull it up? And, I'm thinking, some things I think are worth learning, right?
Sure.
And obviously,
Math facts.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's right. Yeah. So, but I think it's given them an opportunity, like I say, maybe to get, on a deeper connection with kids. Again, enhancing that relationship piece of it instead of them having the nose in the phone. So, well, I mean,
I told Mark we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so eventually, whenever I retire, I'm going to go mow golf courses and rake sand traps. So this
You're
is
practicing.
See,
I'm just practicing.
I know. I told Darren, I was like, when I retire, I need a part-time job for a couple days a week.
Hey,
maybe that's a good plan.
That's a good
Rake
one.
sand
I need
traps.
straight lines. I need to make sure
It's
they're
gotta be
all straight in the same
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll change direction just to give me something else to do. But yes,
Yeah.
See, I probably
you
could
know.
have. I probably could have done this the whole time during the podcast.
Well,
it might help me focus.
I start saying we need to get Candace one of those because
Yeah.
she'll come in. She'll come in my office and like my nameplate will be like this, and she'll go like, But once she don't know, the minute she leaves, I go like that.
yeah, I like straight lines,
Yeah.
order.
Yeah, see, I do too,
Cleanliness,
Mark. I do too.
cleanliness.
Yes.
There's no straight lines to me.
Yes.
I mean, it's the shortest distance, and whatever you got to do to get there.
He
Yeah.
said cleanliness. So
Yeah.
let's talk.
Cleanliness.
Let's
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
about
Y'all came in and just
Right.
disaster
destroyed it.
Yeah.
We'll straighten
exactly.
it back up when we
Okay,
leave.
all right.
But funny co-op story. Duties is assigned kind of thing. So we had somebody retire, one of our
Right. Oh, yeah.
custodial, and so Veronica, our business manager, and we are like, well, I guess we're on trash duty. So every day for a week, we're going
Right.
around in the afternoons. Anyway.
Right.
So we have another person that's coming in. And our front admin assistant, she came in, it yesterday?
Yeah.
We came in and Christy said, she said, funny story. She said, I went over to building 3, which is where Arkadelphia, they're leasing part of our
Yeah, our admin team,
Yeah, their admin team. So she's over there, and they were like, "Can we help you?" And she's like, "Well, I'm trying these keys to figure out which key fits the towel thing, whatever it was." And so I can tell our person, and she was like, "Oh, the other 2 didn't work out." And Christy said, "No, they didn't work out." Yeah, we worked out for a week.
But that, I mean, and obviously I know, and it's this way in every co-op. I mean, that's what I love about the co-op is just that pitch in and do it spirit. So whether it's something that affects us, locally at our co-op or in the schools or whatever. I go back to COVID and the PPE, and we get a call one day and said, "Hey, we got to have somebody manage this thing statewide." And we're like, "Oh my gosh." So we did that, and to tell you that it was, a great, smooth experience would be the biggest lie I've ever told, but we did it.
Yeah.
And everybody jumped in and did their part. So before we get out of here, we always like to talk, a couple of things, like funny stories maybe that's happened in your teaching career that you can share on the podcast, obviously.
Listen, so we've had so much shared on the podcast that you wouldn't think would be shared on the podcast.
Yeah.
So you can really
Okay,
pretty
I
much
got
share
one.
everything.
So my first year's principal, you know how you do the canned food drive
Oh, yeah.
at Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing the competition between the classes, and it was really tight. And we were tracking it. I mean, we had like mamas and grandmas showing up at the office, bringing in more, that kind of stuff, right? So we finally do all the tallying, and we figure out who the winner is. And the winner gets a pizza party.
Yeah.
So we do the pizza party in the cafeteria. We've got it all going on. And the kids start coming in, and I'm like, that's not the right class.
Yeah.
So essentially, somewhere the wires got crossed, and we gave the wrong class the party. And I was like, we got to take this one to the grave. Nobody ever
Until now on the podcast.
until now.
Yeah.
So hopefully none of those kids watch. But yeah, I was mortified, and I was like, look, y'all, there's nothing we can do.
And
there you go.
There's one kid that's probably going to see this and,
I
and
know.
go, "I knew it.
I know.
I knew
Well,
it."
like a couple weeks later, I made up a reason. I was
Yeah.
like, that class is going to get a pizza party for something. So we made it right, but they just never knew they were actually
That's
the winners.
hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now with teaching and coaching, there's always something good in
Oh
coaching.
man,
Yeah.
I got to decide which one to pick from. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so my first experience as a head coach, I took over a program, had one game in 5 years. So we go in and we were 1-2, and we were playing homecoming.
Oh wow.
And so at they told me to be off the field at 6:30.
Yeah.
And so the maids and all that could do their thing. So, and I'd been done
Sure.
this years, So about 6:25, we're still warming up, and this guy comes walking out in a suit, and he's like, "Hey, coach, get off the field." I turned around, and looked at him. I said, "Hey, don't you worry about it. I'll get off when it's time to get off.
Yeah, right.
Go back over there and stand there with your daughter or whatever."
Yeah.
So we finished our warm-up. We're walking off the field, and the superintendent comes over there.
Yeah.
And he says, "Boy, Coach, good luck tonight." By the way, that was the school board president.
Oh, I
get
was
off the
thinking
field.
who was the suit.
So I went into our team,
Yeah.
and for my pregame speech, I said, "Guys, I'm going to need you to win every game from here on out."
Yeah, exactly.
If
That's
you-
awesome.
If you like me, I need to win every game to keep my job.
yeah.
So, but
That's
anyway, it was good.
Did
I
you at least win
apologize.
homecoming?
Yes, we
Right.
won, and we won a lot of games after
Yeah,
that. So.
yeah, that's good though. Hey, you got to get motivation where you can get motivation.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
I was
Well, you're
motivated.
Like, you're like, well, I'm gonna give what you give. So
Exactly.
be nice. Yeah.
So do y'all drive or y'all pretty local? I mean, what's your drive in?
Mine's about 35 minutes
Yeah.
a day.
Mine's about 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
that's-
so
it's really
You know,
close.
the other thing we like too is just like see what you're listening to. Like if we jumped in and hit your your playlist, what would be on
Sirius XM 70s.
there? Okay.
Oh,
All right.
70s. Okay.
I listen to audiobooks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so eclectic, it's not even funny. And
too.
and when I pull in, obviously a lot of it's got to do with radio, and because I believe in the power of music. I've never been I can't play anything except the radio probably, but I just know how it can affect your mood and that kind of stuff. And I've got like an hour 10 commute every. But anyway, I just love it because I get podcasts in or whatever. But going in, depending on what's on the radar for that day, I mean, I'll blast it. I can remember one time going over to. We had, when I was at Fountain Lake, we were going over for the charter. It was a conversion charter. We did it with middle school, going with high school, and everybody got in there, and their butts were pinched so tight. They were, we got to go before the board and all that stuff. And finally, about Benton on the way to Little Rock, I just started blasting music. And a couple of them, I run into them, they remind me of that. But they said, man, it did. It
Kind of relaxed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
it
relaxed
does.
us. So.
It does. Yeah.
I like 70s. There was all kinds of music,
Absolutely.
different. I mean,
Yeah.
within that time period, you had the R&B, the funk, the
yeah,
soul, and you
yeah.
had the Carpenters. You had
Yeah.
all these different rock and roll groups. You got a little bit of everything in the
Yeah,
70s.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of like country is today. Everybody's like making that shift, I guess, back to the 90s. And, and the thing that I enjoy about that right now, some of those artists that were in the 90s are going back out on the road, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Pretty cool.
I guess that's the way of the world. What was old again will become new again.
Circles back
eventually.
around, I
So,
guess.
Comes
huh?
back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Julie, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I would be painting. I'd be an artist somewhere.
She's
Yeah.
fantastic, by
Oh,
the
yeah?
way.
yeah,
Like,
I love that. Being
Okay.
creative. And,
Yeah.
no creation. No.
Speaking
I can
of
write
that,
poems. I can write poems.
Okay.
speaking of that,
See,
you know
I
what,
can't do
you know what
that.
I watch every day?
What's that?
Bob Ross.
Oh, do you still?
No, you do not.
Every day. If you turn it on right
No,
now, it'd be
you
Bob Ross.
do
Love
not.
Bob Ross.
So, have you tried
I
to
would never
duplicate
have-
some of those masterpieces?
No, but my wife and kids said they're going to get me a canvas and some paints and let me try it
Yeah.
one day.
Have you watched the documentary on
Yes.
him? That's awesome.
It is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Julie
It
can
is
probably
great.
give you lessons because she
I could
is
give you
really
lessons.
good.
Yes.
She's really
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll put a fake fro on her, a little goatee, and
Yeah.
then
Just teach you about the happy
Yeah.
little trees.
that's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah.
So what about you? What do you think you'd be doing?
I mean, I absolutely loved being a superintendent.
Right,
I
yeah.
loved leading, a district, being in that person in the community
Yeah.
that people look to. I loved that, and I would still be there. This was just a tremendous opportunity that I felt like that I couldn't pass up, and now I get to serve 26 of my colleagues,
Right.
and so I would still be a superintendent though.
Yeah. Well, and I enjoyed that spot too. And what I would say, I always try to give this advice to, especially new teachers or whatever, keep your head down, work hard. You'll get noticed.
That's right.
Opportunity will come your way. And I've been blessed enough, every opportunity that I've been afforded. I will say when my first superintendency, and first, I guess, assistant principal's job were the two admin jobs that I applied for. But I felt like, in the right time, I was prepared to go to the next step. Kind of like the co-op. It wasn't really on my radar, but when it came open, And I drove home that day and thought, man, it's, you know, what an incredible opportunity to be able to serve more kids and more schools and have a bigger impact.
And probably like me, I mean, your colleagues reached out to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so that was encouraging.
Oh,
if,
it was.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you know, as a co-op director, you get a chance to kind of. One thing that I've enjoyed is I go into these other schools and I see such great things going on, and I think, man, why didn't I come out and visit that school when I was a superintendent? There are things they have systems in place that we could have benefited from,
And you can share that now.
I can share that. So, you know, I think that I would love to see our superintendents, you know, be able to do that more. You know.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think about just last week we had a phone call from one of our newer subs about a situation he was dealing with. And as Candace and I were talking out loud, we're like, oh, so-and-so dealt with that last year. And so being able to make those connections and say, like, you don't have to start building the boat from the ground up.
Right.
A lot of it's, you know, been done. So that's kind of a cool position about being here.
Yep.
And the other thing about co-ops, like I said, this is going into my 10th year. But the thing that's been really exciting for me is the collaboration between the co-ops.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, it wasn't quite where it's at today when I first got in
Right.
It was more of, hey, we're doing this and we're going to keep this secret. But, I mean, we can't afford to do that now.
Right.
I mean, if something's good and working like the A-flip thing that you guys got going on, I mean, the willingness to share.
Right.
And let them know that it can be done in any co-op, in any district.
Yep.
It's not going to look exactly the same, but the tools are there. But speaking of A-flip, I got thinking, to promote that, you need to get on there and learn how to do A-flip and sell that.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
With AI, you could totally do a video and just.
I'm
get him
afraid
to
Workman's comp would
backhands.
not cover that.
Oh, you don't
Right.
think so?
But you know, our relationship with DESE continues to be collaborative, and you know, we continue to build those relationships with them and work with them, and it's been fun working with, you know, DESE on implementing a lot of this the changes that have come through LEARNS.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, education is no different than really mainstream corporate America. I mean, if you're not willing to embrace some of these changes, I mean, you're just going to get passed by. That's the
Right.
simple
Look
fact.
at Cracker Barrel.
That's right, exactly. That's right. Hey, don't get Candace started on that. She's
I just think that's so dumb. But anyway,
Yeah.
if the food's good, who cares what the
cares
logo
what it looks
is? I'm
like?
like, people get
I
too.
do.
yeah.
I like reading those old signs in there.
Yeah. Well, they're keeping the signs. I
Oh,
think it's all
okay.
it's all the memorabilia.
Just the old guy on the
Gotcha.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Gotcha.
rocking chair, it's out.
I'm
So.
like,
barrel.
hey, if the food's good, let's go. Let's
that
go
might
with
be
it.
something you could come up with if you become a painter. You could design Cracker Barrel a whole new logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably not going to be calling me for that.
Anytime soon,
No.
anyway. Well, thank you all for letting us take some time today. You know, 40 years of co-ops. Wow. You know what I equate that to? That's the year I graduated high school. So, I mean.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, that's 40 years. And then I thought, good Lord, 85. I was walking across the stage in 1985. So.
I was like,
But yeah.
11.
Yeah.
It's 10.
And education as a career was nowhere on my
Yeah.
roadmap at that time. So it's funny how God, you know, let you do your thing, and then it gets to a point, say, okay, you've had your fun.
Yeah.
You know, so let's knock this door open and go see what it's all about. So, but yeah, we appreciate y'all letting us come
Yes, it's
out.
been fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We
Enjoyed
appreciate
it.
you coming by.
Oh, we'll be coming back by. I mean, you guys got some good stuff going on, and like I said, we want to come take notes, and you know, and like I say, you know, Candace will be here with her legal pad like she normally does.
Yes.
So.
And same thing with us. We'd love to come down and see you guys and
absolutely.
see some of the great things you got going in Dawson.
Yeah. You know, and the thing is that's probably the coolest part about this whole co-op tour for us is getting in and getting to see how people and
it's really neat.
the thing that's probably most impressive so far is the regional approach. The co-ops that we talk to, they know what their schools need,
Right.
and the focus at each region shifts to the biggest needs and works down that way.
Except for Jim Ford. I'm not sure he's figured anything out
well,
yet, has he?
No, I don't think so. I think that was like a default kind of appointment there, right? I think.
Jim can't get you back because we already podcasted.
Exactly.
already
And I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think that you know, surely he wasn't the best they had. You know what I'm saying? There had to be a couple of guys that absent or something.
Poor Jim.
I
Can't
don't know.
defend himself.
He's probably bigger than all the rest of them.
You know, that's probably it. Well, yeah, he probably went in there with a kickball
Yeah.
and say, "Yeah,
Not
go ahead
that-
and vote against me."
yeah.
Did you hear that story?
No.
He was, you know, he taught elementary PE or whatever early on, and they were playing kickball. What do you say, third, fifth grade?
Third
something?
grade, I think.
So they were out playing one day and said he was all-time pitcher, and said, you know, he rolls it up there and the kid, you know, kicks the ball and he gets it, and he said, out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody rounding third, and he said, I reared back and chunked that thing. He said, when it got about 2 inches off my hands, he said, I just lost my job.
Yeah.
Hit a little girl, knocked her down, said she was crying. And can you imagine big old Jim Ford said he bent over and said, are you okay, baby? And she said, through the tears, said, yeah. And he said, well, honey, you're still out.
That's good stuff
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
good stuff.
awesome.
That's good
That
stuff.
was awesome.
Well, thank y'all
All right,
again, man.
thank you.
Appreciate y'all,
Yes.
Julie. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you.
And like I said, you know, the co-op tour will continue. So, you know, keep doing what you guys are doing great things. And again, I just love the fact that we're able to work hard, but get together as a group and have a good time too, because that's
Absolutely.
important.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.